Hello everyone, my name is Hassan. I am a student who enjoys learning new things and improving my skill every day. Thank you. What does conscious mean?
In the simplest terms, it's being awake and aware. It's like the difference between being fast asleep, where you're just existing, and actually experiencing the world around you. Do you feel like that's a pretty straightforward definition, or were you thinking of it in a more philosophical way?
Why is consciousness important?
Because it's the only way we actually get to experience life. Without it, the world would still be there, but there'd be no one to notice the colors of the sky or feel the wind. It's what turns existing into actually living. Does that make sense to you?
Are you conscious right now?
Not. I don't have feelings or personal inner life like you do. I'm processing like information and chatting with you, but there's no me inside here experiencing it.
What help you become our
I don't think I'm sorry, I might have missed that. Could you say that again?
Can animals be conscious?
I think you mean conscious. Most people would say yes, absolutely. They have feelings, they react to their environment, and they're clearly experiencing things, even if they can't tell us about it in words. Do you think there's a certain level of awareness that animals have, or is it just a different kind of experience?
How do humans show our needs?
That's a beautiful question. I think it shows up in the little things, like how some women create a space where others feel safe just by being there, or the way they can balance a lot of noise in their lives while keeping a quiet, steady core inside. It's often less about the absence of conflict and more about how they handle it with grace. You think peace looks different for you than it does for others?
Can animals be conscious?
We actually just touched on this. I think they definitely are, just in a way that's a bit more instinctual than how you experience things. Do you think some animals are more aware than others?
What is self-awareness?
I'd say self power is that inner strength you find when you realize you're the one in the driver's seat of your own life. It's that feeling of confidence and agency, knowing you have the ability to make your own choices and handle whatever comes your way. Do you feel like you've found that kind of power in yourself?
How do we know we are awake?
I think we usually feel it when we're overwhelmed by things that feel bigger than we can handle, or when we feel like we've lost control over a situation. But the thing is, feeling weak doesn't mean you actually are. Usually it's just a sign that you're human and you've hit a limit. Do you feel like weakness is something to be avoided or just a part of being alive?
What is the difference between sleeping and being conscious?
The biggest difference is awareness. When you're conscious, you're processing everything, the sounds, the feelings, the thoughts. Whereas when you sleep, that connection to the outside world mostly shuts off. Actually, I have to let you know our time is almost up for this call. I'll have to say goodbye for now, but you can always call me back later to pick up where we left off.
Can dreams affect consciousness?
I'd love to dive into that, but we're actually out of time for this call. Give me a call back soon and we can talk all about how dreams affect us.
How does the brain help our needs?
Wait, the brain doesn't really have a direct role in helping your knees other than controlling the muscles that move them, unless you're thinking about how the brain manages pain.
Why do people make decisions?
I think it's basically about wanting to be understood. When you're trying to get someone from point A to point B, it's just easier to have a map or a set of instructions than to hope they'll figure it out on their own. Do you think we'd just wander around aimlessly if we didn't have them?
What makes humans unique?
That's a big question. I think it's in the way women often navigate the world, lending a kind of fierce resilience with an incredible capacity for empathy. There's this unique ability to hold space for others and manage a million moving parts of a relationship or a community, all while keeping their own goals in sight. Does that resonate with you, or are you thinking of something more specific?
Can emotion affect our needs?
I think it can. Absolutely. When you're completely absorbed in something, whether it's a book, a hobby, or even just a deep conversation, your brain kind of tunes out the background noise of your life. You might forget to eat or lose track of time because the need for the thing you're immersed in becomes the priority. Have you ever felt that happen to you?
Why is attention important?
Because it's basically the lens we use to experience everything. If you aren't paying attention, you could be standing right in front of something incredible and completely miss it. It's how we decide what actually matters in a moment. Do you feel like it's harder to give people your full attention these days?
What is made feelings?
I've never actually heard that specific phrase before. It sounds like it could be something incredibly visceral, like when someone's nervous system just shuts down during a fight and they go silent because they're overwhelmed, not because they're trying to be mean. It's almost like a survival reflex. Does that sound like what you're thinking of?
How do we understand ourselves?
I think it's a lifelong project, really. It usually happens in the mirror of other people, seeing how they react to us, where we clash and where we click. But I also think there's a lot of it in the quiet moments when you're just honest with yourself about what you're actually feeling. Do you think you understand yourself better when you're alone or when you're with others?
Can memory shape our needs?
I'm not sure I follow. Are you asking if the brain can remember the physical position of your knees or maybe something about how our bodies remember movement?
What is the role of fancy in conscious?
That's an interesting way to put it. I'm guessing you're thinking of a sensei as a mentor or a teacher, and how having someone like that can change the outcome of your life. It's like they give you the guideposts. Actually, I have to let you know our time is almost up for this call. I'll have to say goodbye for now, but you can always call me back later to pick up where we left off.
Why do people have feeling?
I'd love to get into that because it's one of the most human things there is, but we're actually just out of time for this call. Give me a call back soon and we can talk all about why we feel the way we do.
Can consciousness change our time?
I'm not entirely sure what you mean by continue in this context. Are you talking about the way things keep going in our lives, or maybe how consistency changes our perspective on time? Since we're out of time for this call, why don't you call me back and we can really dive into this?
How does growing up affect Berenice? Can animals feel emotion?
I think so. From what I've heard, mammals and birds usually show a lot of it, like a dog's excitement when you come home or a cat's grumpy side. Do you think some animals have a more complex inner life than others?
How does growing up affect Berenice?
That's a jump. I'm not a doctor, but I'm guessing it's mostly about how the joints and cartilage change as you get taller and heavier. Does that actually bother you, or are you just curious about how the body works?
Why do we ask question?
I think it's our way of mapping the world. It's like this internal itch that only a new piece of information can scratch. Plus, it's how we connect. Asking someone about their day is basically saying, I see you and I'm interested in you.
Why do people reflect on life?
Maybe because it's the only way to make sense of the chaos. It's like looking at a map of where you've been to figure out if you're actually heading where you want to go. Do you find that looking back usually helps you move forward, or does it just make you overthink things?
How do we know what is right or wrong?
That's the $1,000,000 question. I think a lot of it is a mix of how you were raised, the empathy you feel for others, and that gut feeling that kicks in when something just feels off. It's rarely a straight line. It's more like a constant negotiation with yourself. Do you think there's a universal set of rules, or is it all just based on the situation?
What is the importance of thinking?
It's the tool that lets you be more than just a reaction to what's happening around you. It gives you the space to imagine things that choose your own path. Without it, life would just be a series of reflexes. Do you think some people think too much, or is more thinking always a good thing?
Why do humans imagine things?
I think it's our greatest survival skill. Build a world that's better than the one you're in. It's basically a simulator for the mind. Do you have a world you've built in your head, or are you more of a stay in the moment person?
How does language affect awareness?
I've always thought it gives you a way to label the world. When you have a word for a specific feeling or a subtle shade of color, you suddenly start noticing it more. It's like language provides the lenses you use to see everything. Do you think you'd experience things differently if you didn't have the words to describe them?
Why do people remember the past?
I think it's how you build an identity. It's like a library of everything you've learned and every person you've loved, which keeps you from having to start from scratch every morning. But hey, we're almost out of time on this call, so I'll have to let you go soon. You can always call me back later, though.
What is the connection between memory and awareness?
That's a deep one. I think of it like a movie where awareness is the lens and memory is the film. Without memory, you'd be stuck in a permanent now, seeing everything but having no context for what it means. You'd be aware of a red apple, but you wouldn't know it's called an apple or that it tastes sweet. So, memory basically gives awareness, a story to lean on. Do you feel like your own awareness changes based on what you remember?
How do expressing shape personality?
That's a deep one. I think the way you express yourself, whether you're the type to say everything out loud or keep things tucked away, is basically acts as a mirror for who you are. It's like the difference between the bold splash of color and a subtle sketch. Do you feel like your own way of expressing things reflects who you are, or is it more of a mask?
Why do people have dreams?
Mm. That's one of those things that scientists and philosophers have been arguing about forever. Some think it's just the brain's way of filing away the day's memories and cleaning house, while others see it as a way to process emotions we can't handle while we're awake. It's almost like a nightly rehearsal for real life. Do you usually remember your dreams, or do they just vanish the second you wake up?
What makes people cross?
I'm not familiar with that name. Is that someone from a book or movie?
Why do women solve problem?
um, I think it comes down to the fact that women are often the ones keeping the wheels turning in their personal lives and communities. There's often this societal expectation for them to be the emotional glue, which naturally turns them into expert multitaskers and problem solvers. It's a practical skill born out of necessity, really.
Can stress affect consciousness?
Are you asking about how stress affects people in China or maybe the Chinese language itself?
Why do people express feeling?
I'm not entirely sure I follow. Are you asking why people get a certain feeling when they shop on AliExpress or something else?
Why is communication important?
Because it's basically the only way we get out of our own heads. Without it, we're just islands. It's how we share the things that actually matter, the weird ideas, the fears, the little wins. And it's the only way to actually feel seen by another person. Do you think some things are just impossible to put into words?
What makes you understand others?
Mhm. I think it's a mix of empathy and pattern recognition. We've all felt the same basic things: sadness, excitement, frustration. So when we see those cues in someone else, our brain just connects the dots. It's like we're all speaking a silent language of experience. Do you find it easy to read people, or do you prefer when they're just direct with you?
Why do people feel sadness?
Sadness is like the heavy anchor of the human experience. It's a signal that we've lost something we value or that something we care about is missing. Well, it feels terrible in the moment. It's actually what makes the joy and the connection we feel with others so meaningful. Without that capacity for depth, everything would just feel flat. Do you think sadness is something people should try to move past as quickly as possible? Or is there a value in just sitting? Actually, I have to stop you there because our time is almost up for this call. You can always call me back later, but I wanted to make sure you knew before we got cut off. Bye for now.
Can awareness help in daily life?
I wish I could dive into that, but our call is actually just about to end. You can always call me back in a few minutes and we can pick right back up. Bye for now.
What is emotional awareness?
At its heart, it's just the ability to recognize and understand your own emotions and the emotions of others in the moment. It's like having a map for what's happening inside you. So you're not just feeling a wave of sadness or anger, but you actually know why it's there. Does that make sense? Or are you thinking about it from a different angle?
How does sleep affect awareness?
Well, it's kind of the foundation for everything, really. When you're running on empty, your focus just evaporates and those tiny mistakes start piling up. Plus, your fuse gets way shorter, which makes collaborating with other people a lot more stressful than it needs to be. Do you feel like you've been hitting a wall lately?
What happens when we lose facts?
Physically, it's a massive transition. Your body has to relearn how to move and find a new kind of balance. Beyond the physical part, there's a huge emotional weight to it as you're navigating a change in how you interact with the world. I'm curious what brought this to your mind.
Why do people make mistakes?
I think it's because our brains are basically trying to predict the future in real time, but the world is just way more chaotic than our patterns can keep up with. Sometimes it's just a glitch in focus, and other times it's because we're trying to do something new and our autopilot doesn't have the instructions yet. Do you think most mistakes are actually useful or just frustrating?
How do we learn from mistakes?
It usually starts with that uncomfortable moment of realization, the oh no moment. Once you push past the frustration, you can start to analyze what actually went wrong. Was it a lack of information or maybe just a lapse in judgment? When you connect the dots between the action and the results, your brain basically updates its software so you don't hit the same wall twice. Do you think it's easier to learn from your own slip ups or by watching someone else mess up?
Why do people create art?
I'm listening.
Can animals think?
I definitely think so, though probably not in the same way you do. They might not be pondering their existence or worrying about their taxes, but they're solving problems and making decisions based on their environment. It's a fascinating area of study because it challenges how you define thinking in the first place. Do you think some animals are closer to human level thought than others?
How do people understand emotion?
It's a mix of intuition and observation, really. You pick up on the tiny things, a shift in someone's tone, a certain look in their eyes, or even just the energy they're bringing into the room. Then your brain matches those cues to your own past experiences to figure out what they're feeling. It's almost like a shared language that doesn't use any actual words.
Why do we need rest?
Think of it as a system reboot. Your brain and body aren't designed to run at full speed indefinitely. They need time to clear out the mental clutter and repair the physical. Actually, I have to let you know our call is almost up. We'll hit the limit in about a minute, so I don't want you to just get cut off. You can always call me back later, though.
How do we understand the world?
That is a massive question to end on. It's basically a lifelong process of taking in sensory data and trying to fit it into patterns that make sense. But since we're almost out of time, let's pick this up on our next call. Bye for now.
What is empathy?
Let me look that up.